Welcome to day 170 of the 300 movie challenge. Today we watched the highest grossing film of July 2008, which was The Dark Knight.
For a
Uh,
second, when you said we were watching the highest grossing film, I almost thought you were going to say the highest grossing Batman.
oh my god. I mean, you're not wrong. No, wait, you are wrong. Never mind.
It's probably not the
Yeah, the
highest
third
grossing.
installment is.
Yeah.
Rises actually did make more money.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I don't think that's the highest grossing Batman.
Yeah. Um, So I did see this before, but I don't remember when exactly. It was definitely a while ago. I didn't see this in theaters, but since I didn't see it in theaters, I'm like, I feel like the only time I would have seen it was at college, but at the same time, I feel like I watched it before that, but then I don't know when I would have had that opportunity. So I don't know. But point is, I have seen it, but again, it was several years ago, so I didn't remember too much of the specifics. Like I remembered the general plot, like really generally, and I remembered some scenes, but like especially a lot of the dialogue and the character moments I really didn't remember at all. So, if anything, I was coming into this, I was really curious how to watch it because, I knew that I remembered I did like this movie, but and I remember, but I remembered it that I liked it for the general reasons that most people like this movie. So I was kind of coming into this like to try to really look at the specifics and be like, exactly how much do I like this? Exactly why do I like this? And trying to kind of figure that out. Um, but you two have not seen this before,
Nope.
No.
so you're first.
Okay.
Uh, um, what?
Where to start? I guess like on my end, I had always heard that Heath Ledger's Joker is really interesting to watch.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then it was really sad what happened to him too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ledger's Joker. I'd always like me and said we'd always heard about how like well played it is and everything. So it's like, all right, let's see how it goes and everything. Because I mean, I don't know. I mean, you've also seen like snippets of like the animated Joker and like the Joker
Yeah.
in general, just because there's lots of parodies of like
Yeah,
the
for
Batman Joker dynamic.
animated Joker is kind of like very ubiquitous, so it's very hard to not see that version, at least one of the many animated versions there are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which he definitely pulls it off in this movie, I think.
Yeah, he does. And I thought his approach was kind of interesting because like
Yeah.
in the animated show it's kind of played off as like it can be kind of just comedic because it's mostly targeted towards children, but in like this movie it's quite a bit more nefarious and to like I feel like I've heard this before where like superhero movies are interesting to watch because like the costumes are kind of silly. And the Joker is no exception. He wears a purple suit, he has green hair, and he wears like melted clown makeup. But he actually looks like really intimidating, and it's not even that he goes around like exerting himself as like a presence. He goes around and he just like screws with people's minds and he twists them in ways where like it would be really hard to think that you could go to that point until you see it happening to the victims that he targets.
Yeah. Like the whole scene with like how he twisted Harvey Dent and everything is pretty painful to watch too.
Yeah, especially like oh Harvey Dent is a really sad character.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's
Cause
Go ahead.
like I was thinking about this, but I thought back to like Spider-Man 2, where it's in Spider-Man 2 with Dr. Octopus, he loses his wife in like a terrible accident and stuff, and basically he turns into a supervillain and stuff for that reason. But I think they pull it off better here because
Yeah.
you kind of see the stages more. So it's not just after she dies, he just suddenly decides to become a supervillain. It's like, not too, he doesn't acknowledge himself as a supervillain either.
Right.
And while Dr. Octopus wanted to like create like a miniature sun, and not, they still don't quite know what he was doing with that. But anyway, here it's like he's actually like thinking, okay, I am justice. I'm going to do this and stuff. So you
Right.
can see where he's coming from, and that just makes it more heartbreaking.
I guess the thing with that too is you can kind of see the parallels between Harvey Dent and Batman, even because it's kind of like the vigilante justice thing where Batman is a vigilante justice person, but Harvey Dent, like, he even says, like, earlier in the movie, like, he takes the fall of being Batman, and then in this way he's being like kind of a twisted version of Batman because he's killing people for like revenge, while Batman doesn't do that. But I guess like it's just I don't know, it's they had a lot of commonalities, but the way each person executes what they do is done very differently, and it kind of shows the fine line between like what it means to take justice into your own hands, because you could go one way or the other, where you could think that your way is the right thing to do, but it's not. And I feel like, I guess like in the end Batman realizes that, which is why he takes the fall for him to repay the favor.
There's a lot of interesting parallelism in like throughout the whole movie in many different ways. And one of the big things which I noticed at the end is, who's the Dark Knight? You're like, it's Batman, right? Obviously, that's his title. But throughout the movie, they say that Harvey Dent is the White Knight, and that then he has fallen.
Oh.
So I was like, huh, okay. Because I mentioned this like when we were starting, that like I felt it was kind of stupid that like this is the second movie, you know, and like it's the first movie has not, like, you know, so there's The Dark Knight is the second one, and then The Dark Knight Rises being a sequel. Okay, fine, like that kind of makes sense. But like then the first one being Batman Begins, like the naming is completely different, right? So it's kind of like that's kind of stupid. But so now I'm wondering, like, maybe like that was the ultimate reason for them deciding to name it this. I don't know, like, how that works, because again, the whole Batman being known as the Dark Knight, like that is his term, right? So that how that starts. So I don't know, it's just really interesting. And from my angle, so okay, since I don't remember when I saw this exactly, I definitely did see it like early enough so that this was one of my first like forays into Batman stuff.
Okay.
I don't know if it was the first though. And I actually got into this stuff in a weird way. I actually first started with the Arkham games. And those are already interesting because, like, for example, the person who plays the voice of Batman, who I can't remember his name. Oh my god.
Right.
I feel really bad for not forgetting his name.
Is it Christian Bale?
No. In Arkham the game.
Wait, I can look it up.
I feel so bad. Oh my god, what is his name?
Arkham.
I know people are gonna kill me.
You can edit this out.
Well, no,
it's fine.
okay, so it's him and then the guy who plays the Joker are the same people who play them in the animated shows.
Oh.
So the Arkham Joker is Mark Hamill's Joker, okay? And again,
Wait, Mark Hamill?
Mark Hamill's the Joker in the animated stuff. Yeah.
What the heck?
Yes. So why can I not remember the guy who plays Batman's name? Oh my god, I feel so Kevin Conroy. That's his name.
Yeah.
Okay. Jesus, I couldn't remember. Okay.
I just got it.
But anyway, so it's really interesting because like again, like you said, those shows are primarily aimed for kids like, to begin with, right? But so then
Right.
you have this with the same people kind of doing a lot of the same voices, but it's, like a T-rated game, right? So it's not specifically for kids. So it's this interesting transition kind of from that. But that's where I kind of started. So, from there, and again, watching the first time for The Dark Knight was kind of from there as well. So from there, I ended up just kind of getting into things from there. I saw Dark Knight Rises, and then a while passed, and in early-ish 2017, I for some reason got like this inspiration to watch like Batman the Animated Series, and then from extension all of the DCAU, and I powered through the whole thing in like 2 months, which is like
Somehow.
it was like 380 episodes in total or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is when I had literally nothing to do, so wasn't working or anything. But so that was kind of coming that way, and that was interesting because again, it was something that was this is clearly primary target was kids, but the adult stuff they do with that in terms of theming and things. So, but again, like you said, that a lot of this is silly, right? In terms of the base concept. Like, for
Right.
example, the whole thing is that Harvey Dent, okay, it's this dude who's like half of his body's burned, yet he like flips coins to figure out if he kills people or not. Like, that's kind of silly, right? Like, just
Yeah.
inherently. But what's interesting is that the show, Batman the Animated Series, they, again, the primarily made for kids, even though I would say Two-Face himself in the show is okay, I don't think he's like super interesting. What they show for the kind of origin of that is one of the best episodes in the show, and I would say one of the best in the whole DCAU, because it does play into the whole kind of tragedy of his fall.
Right.
So it was really interesting seeing how they kind of do the same thing here, but it's the same at the same time it's different, and at the same time this is, the one that's not primarily for kids, even though they still kind of handle the same emotional aspects to it, where like he loses someone close to him and there's this kind of issue. But again, it's done very differently in terms of the exact plot elements, but it's just interesting to see that parallelism. And then in terms of the Joker, I tried to think a while ago, like, what version of Joker do I like the most? And for me it was the DCAU Joker, the Arkham Joker, or this Joker. And the thing is, like, again, that I ultimately kind of settled on the Arkham Joker because I felt like that was kind of like the best of both worlds in a sense. Where the DCAU Joker, like, there are some, kind of, he does have this sort of intimidating presence to him, and but again, it is primarily aimed for kids, and so a lot of it his main focus is a bit more humor. It's like dark, twisted humor, so it still fits the character, but he like makes more like jokes, right? In
Right.
that. Whereas the Arkham games, they can kind of step back out of that, and like he still has those moments, but he's they can go a bit further with the stuff he does, right? Whereas this, like, in terms of an actual like joke, he never says that in this movie, right?
No.
He like never
not-
says an actual joke, but at the same time, there are points where, like, based on what he does, it is kind of funny.
You
Like-
mean like the hospital?
Yeah, like there's that, and then there's a few like motions he does, and just kind of how he interacts with some people that like the whole, like, I always remember that I'm gonna make this pencil disappear, and like it's like weirdly funny kind of, but it's like you're like, am I supposed to laugh at this kind of funny? It's like
Right.
so it's really weird kind of mix for things and how they work. So like I like all three of them. I think if you forced me to pick, I would say the Arkham Joker, but I do like all of them a lot, and it's just interesting to see the comparisons all throughout this. And yeah, I don't know, I definitely, again, in the show, besides that origin episode, I don't think Two-Face was that interesting, but definitely Harvey in this movie is really, really good. I'd say with him and the Joker are the best parts of the movie.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah.
That's why it's also interesting how, again, with like Dr. Octopus, he became the main villain in the entire movie, basically.
Yeah.
But here, Harvey Dent actually is more in the background while the Joker is taking like center stage and stuff.
Mhm.
Right.
So it's not like Batman is okay now that the Joker like converted Harvey Dent and made him insane and everything. Now Batman has to go fight him instead. No, he has to still fight the Joker, and eventually he gets to Harvey, but Harvey isn't the main villain in the entire thing either.
Yeah.
No.
And something that's also interesting, which I didn't remember if they did this in the movie or not, but, you know, Harvey Dent dies, right?
Hmm.
And so, in a sense, all they do is they do the origin story, right?
Yeah.
And again, as
Oh,
I said in
yeah.
the show, that was by far the best part about it, right?
Mhm.
So it's like, because they realized they couldn't do more with this guy in this sort of serious kind of tone of these movies.
Right.
They realized the whole serious and tragic part of his character is the origin, and once you get after that, there isn't really too much else you can do. So they're just like, we took the best of what we got, and then that was it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm cool with that. So it's better than, you know, beating a dead horse in a sense.
Right.
So, if anything, the only thing that's kind of weird is how the Joker's story it doesn't end,
Yeah.
like, at all.
Mhm.
So, and they, you know, don't really do anything with that in future movies. So
Yeah, I didn't realize like after this movie, I had seen the Dark Knight Rises, but I had been wondering where's the Joker?
Yeah, he's
like,
nowhere
half
in
the
that.
time.
And you know, I mean, I guess I get it. They don't want to keep doing the same. Well, okay, they couldn't actually because, you know,
Yeah,
He died.
Heath
Yeah.
Ledger
Um,
passed away.
but I don't know. So it's interesting. Maybe that's why they were just like, you know, they didn't want to bring in a new actor and have him try to do the same thing because they're just like,
Yeah, especially when you see like how much he put into the role and everything too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was reading up on a couple things before we watched the movie and stuff, and apparently he like stayed in a hotel room for like an entire month just to like get in the role of like the Joker and everything, and kept diaries and stuff,
Yeah.
and like spent a long time perfecting the voice of the Joker and whatnot too.
Yeah,
So-
it's interesting also, like I remember reading that, you know how he licks his lips a lot?
Yeah.
That wasn't like what he was supposed to do. It was that literally like all the makeup on his face and stuff was like weird on his lips, and he was like trying to like mess with it, and they just kept it because like I don't know, they were like, you know what? It works somehow.
It looks kind of creepy and intimidating, so we'll keep it.
Yeah. So I guess okay. Speaking of the voice,
The Batman voice.
let's talk a little bit about Batman.
It was in the beginning of the movie. I felt like was a little bit weird in terms of like how they made it like a love triangle and stuff for Batman.
Yeah, I don't know. Are we missing something with the whole like him liking the woman that?
I think that was from
Thanks.
Batman Begins, but I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I can't say for sure.
I mean, like the sad thing is that like Harvey and the woman make a good couple, so like her dying was actually pretty sad.
Yeah.
Batman, like I didn't dislike him, but I didn't like get that attached to him. I was like, in terms of heroes, I got more attached to Jim Gordon. Maybe it's because like I just like Jim Gordon as a character, but like,
I also kind of agree that I didn't get like, as Maya says, has said and such. I had also watched the movie after this too, and in the movie after that, I definitely got way more attached to Batman and stuff.
Yeah.
But in this movie, yeah, I didn't get as attached to him.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like, again, he's not bad by any means.
Yeah,
He's not bad by all
bad.
means,
But he's
though.
just, like, fine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And when you have, like, again, most of your other main characters are really good, it does kind of stick out a bit.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
again, like, I think, and I was trying to think of what it was, like, exactly, and I'm like, and so I was thinking, like, is it just that I have the image, you know, the animated and the Arkham Batman, like, stuck in my head, and I'm like, that this is too different or something? Like, is that the thing? But again, you guys haven't really seen that, so, and you still feel the same way. I think for me, it's that, like, well, first of all, like, the voice is silly, okay? So, just get that out of the way. It is, but it's not, honestly, it's not that big of a deal, but okay. I think the thing for me is that it's not so much while he's Batman, I think it's actually more while he's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah,
Right.
actually.
And that
Yeah.
as Bruce Wayne, he's not interesting, and he feels kind of out of character in terms of, like, he has, like, one-liners, like, to Alfred and stuff, and it's, like, kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm.
the point of Bruce Wayne is the idea is that he's supposed to be, you know, this super rich guy who is supposed to be kind of like a ladies' man and, like, you know, about that. But I'm like, he was never goofy. And, like, Christian Bale as, like, Bruce Wayne was almost goofy at points. It was kind of weird. So maybe that was it? I don't know. It was, like, again, not bad by any means, but it was just kind of like, he's okay. And also, maybe also the fact
Even
that...
if goofy is the word I would use.
I feel like maybe for me, the way I thought of it was like, I don't know if this is 100% true, but like right now my gut is telling me like I felt like he didn't have that much to do.
Hmm.
It was kind of like the Joker is running around. Let's go defeat the Joker. The woman is in trouble. Let's go save the woman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like
Harvey-
he didn't have anything other than like going against the villains, kind of.
Yeah, he didn't have like his own goal. He didn't have agency, which
That's true.
you need as protagonist.
Yeah.
Which is why I think that's probably why I liked Jim Gordon. I mean, I already liked Jim Gordon a lot, but like the thing with Jim Gordon is that he's kind of the one who's making all the big decisions, being like, okay, I'm gonna go like fake my death and like save the mayor.
Well, like him and Harvey.
Yeah.
It's really, in terms of the plot, it's more so their story as
Yeah.
like
Him and
heroes.
Harvey have probably the most compelling roles in terms of like protagonists. Like I would even say, beginning of the movie, Harvey is also a protagonist, but
Yeah.
he is like a tragic one. So him and Gordon are the ones going out making decisions, and Batman is kind of, he's almost kind of like their sidekick. Actually,
I never thought of that before, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
that's kind of how I felt
I
about
guess
it.
it also goes into like what he said in the beginning, where he wanted to retire and have Harvey take his place and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe that was like how they executed it. I can't say for sure, but I know that there was a severe lack of agency from Batman, and what he should have done in that kind of situation was given to the other two characters who more so drove the story. Like, I feel like the climax was more so between Harvey and Gordon, because Gordon's trying to get his son back,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
and Harvey is the one kind of like messing with luck, because like he flipped heads for both him and Batman, right?
Yeah. Well,
And
And he
he
shot
flipped.
Batman,
Yeah.
but he spared himself.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if like that's kind of like, maybe I'm reading too much into this now. Like that was symbolism for they're the same, but he doesn't feel like he should die yet, and then like that's kind of when Gordon like begs for his son's life, and then the only thing Batman really does in that situation is that he takes Harvey out and then he takes the fall for it.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, it's up to Gordon as to whether he goes with his wishes or not, and he very well could have been like, yeah, Harvey did this because he went insane. But he kind of thinks about how that would affect the city also, and he's like, okay, I know the truth, my family knows the truth, but sometimes you can't handle the truth. And with so many people that were like damaged by the Joker, basically like fucking shit up everywhere, he has to make the choice for the greater good rather than like this person that he's been relying on for so long.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, in the end, I feel like Gordon and Harvey are the main heroes of the story, and then Batman is kind of taking what his role was supposed to be like I guess like theoretically, which is he's this dude who lurks in the shadows and he does things to help people.
Mm-hmm.
But in kind of playing with that idea and like the idea of, yeah, maybe Harvey should be the one taking like the credit and maybe he's the one eradicating crime, he also takes a different fall where it's not that he becomes bad, it's just that he becomes kind of unimportant almost.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I feel about that whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know, because I agree with you. It's interesting, because, like,
I was just going to say, off of Valen's statement that, instead of Goofy, because in the beginning of the film you see him as, like, Bruce Wayne, like, on a yacht and everything.
Yeah.
Cool things and stuff. So I was going to say that it's more, like, mood whiplash is more of what I would say. It's like him as Batman, it's like, okay, this is kind of what you expect and stuff, and then as Bruce Wayne it was like a mood whiplash kind of is more so how I was going to put it, but I can kind of see where you're coming from, me and stuff.
Yeah.
I also, maybe also part of it for me is that, like, Christian Bale is, like, kind of wimpy looking. I don't know.
Oh,
like,
is he?
like just like there was the scene early on where like he like got like an injury in his arm or whatever and offered like he's not like skinny or whatever, but like doesn't have like some muscles on him, but like I don't know, like you think of the picture of Batman and like for me at least I see this like. And again, considering what he ends up doing and like a lot of the stuff, like you picture this like really ripped dude, and it's like, and then I see Christian Bale, and I'm like, I don't know.
Too normal.
Yeah, it's
too normal.
I mean, just think about like what he looks like in like the animated series, and like the dude's shoulders are like as wide as he is tall. It is like,
he's super ripped.
Yeah. So. Maybe that's part of it as well. I mean, I know they're, the whole humanizing. It's and it's also live action. They can't, some character designs don't exactly work in live action. But
that said,
yeah.
though, the like makeup and stuff for Harvey Dent, like making like that one side of his face, like look how it did, was pretty awesome to see.
How did they do that?
I
don't know.
I can't remember. I think it's CGI.
Is it?
But even still, that's really impressive CGI.
Yeah, because it's like they had to make sure that it held on his face, like every single time his face moved and stuff.
Yeah, the only thing I can remember is that, like, I feel like I vaguely remember seeing some sort of, like, behind-the-scenes footage of Harvey where literally, like, that half of his face was, like, a green screen kind of thing.
Oh my god, that must have been uncomfortable.
Yeah, but again, I don't remember if I'm just imagining this or I'm confusing something else. But I think it's CGI, but either way, it's still really impressive looking.
Yeah.
Oh, that said, the action sequence in the middle with like the trucks.
That was pretty cool too.
That's
Yeah,
not
that was
CGI.
cool.
Oh.
What?
They actually
They
flipped
flipped a
they
semi?
flipped a truck. Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh my god.
Ow.
So yeah, that's very impressive, and yeah, I don't know. For me, like, it's weird because there are elements to it that are just to this movie that are just kind of like decent, right? Again, Batman is okay; he's decent. The pacing, especially early on, is like a little off.
It's a little bit slow in the beginning.
It is a little slow, and like it is.
But I feel like that's intentional, so you get to know Harvey and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if he appeared in the other movie,
Yeah,
but
no, I don't think so. But it is also like it is a long movie, and it feels like a long movie, but it doesn't feel too long, but it does, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's, but again, so the pacing of them is a little weird, and like Batman's just kind of okay, and like maybe some plot elements here and there are kind of a little off, but like as an overall total experience, kind of how I feel coming away from it, I end up really liking it. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like usually you'd think like, oh, your overall experience would be like the average of all the elements, right?
Right.
But for me, it's like my overall experience is like greater than like most of the elements in it. So it's weird. I don't really know how that works, because again, like the only if I really want to say like the two things that I feel are amazing, it would be the Joker and Harvey. But even then, I still feel like as an overall product, the movie maybe not quite as high as amazing, but it's like right there. So I don't know. That's just me. Maybe I don't know, because I do
The
know some
immersion-
people who think it's like kind of overrated and like just kind of decent, but I don't know.
I
I would-
enjoyed it.
Yeah, I liked it. I think maybe what it is that it could be the immersion. It sucks you in, especially like during some of the tense parts with like Harvey and Gordon in particular, and then like with the Joker, and like what he's doing, because he's just kind of being an asshole as he usually is, but like in a more malicious way than he might be used to. So
Yeah, it was interesting, like, because, for example, I remembered at the beginning scene with the bank and how, like, the actual Joker was, like, one of the dudes in the, you know, pretend masks, right? So I remembered
Yeah.
that, and then I remembered the hospital thing, but I was, like, I forgot, like, all the other times when he, like, you know, was someone he wasn't or something. Like, for example, the whole, like, the honor guard, you know,
Yeah.
trying to, like, I forgot
That
that.
was kind of clever.
Yeah,
and
I
stuff.
forgot
Yeah.
that. The whole thing where like, you know, how he like he was dead in the body bag or whatever. Like I forgot that. Oh, and then the reverse when when the Joker's like in the captivity, and like Gordon comes in to talk to him. I was like, wait. Isn't Batman supposed to talk to, like, confront him at this moment? And then they turn up, and then Batman's just standing behind him in the dark. It's like, oh, okay. Like, I forgot that was a thing. So, because that's the other thing. I was like, I thought Batman was supposed to be here, and I thought this room was way more light. And then I was like, oh, okay. That's why.
I just like how Gordon, he took off the handcuffs and he was like, I'll go get you a cup of coffee, and he leaves, and then Joker's like, heh, he'll be back, and then his face gets slammed into the table.
Yeah, I don't know. I ended up really, really liking this. So I'm glad I did still really like it, because I remembered liking it quite a lot when I first saw it. But I think maybe when I first saw it, I didn't like fully get like the complexities of like Harvey's character. So I think that if anything, I like it more now. But yeah, it gives you a lot. There's a lot that happened though. There's a lot for you to think about and kind of figure out where you stand on things.
Yeah. Sorry.
I will say actually, what's interesting, like you mentioned the immersion and like the tension and stuff. One of the things that like a lot of people comment on is the soundtrack. And
Oh, yeah.
it's interesting because, like, it's kind of just, like, one track. You know what I mean? It's, like, the same kind of melody to it, but they use it, like, in kind of different... They use it in similar but different ways, so it's like theming, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like, you know, kind of what's going to happen based on what part of the track they start playing.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's interesting kind of in that regard, where it's like the track by itself, honestly, I think is not like amazing. I just think it's fine, but like how they use it is actually pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So it is kind of a different feel to it. And actually, it kind of reminds me of how like in Interstellar, there's that main like melody that's used over and over and over again.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
it's, you know, again, it's the theming of when it's used that kind of links stuff
Mhm.
together that's done extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. That said, Interstellar is better, but whatever. This is still good. Yeah, so... I don't know. I feel like there was something else I was going to say. Oh! I do like how... one of the things that the Joker does is... I mean, again, there's the whole thing about, like, he has no... You know, okay, a couple things about the Joker that I wanted to mention. One is that, like, they really play up the fact that, like, he has nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like, again, the whole thing where he, like, wants Batman to, like, hit him, right? With, like, the motorcycle, right?
Mhm.
And, like, actually kill him and stuff. So that's nice they play that up. I like how he... Like, the thing with the people on the boat. And, like, you know, he plays, like, to other people. And it's interesting, though, because they kind of do make it where, like, he's wrong. Because, like, he thought they were going to blow each other up.
Right.
So that was interesting. But at the same time, they do... You know, the whole... What I think is interesting about the Joker and Batman is that they kind of reverse the normal, like, role, where it's the brains versus brawn thing, but the brawn is the hero,
Right.
right?
Right.
And that's kind of usually not what happens, right? So it's kind of interesting how they switch that around, and I do think that, like, the, you know, like, the Arkham Joker and the DCAU Joker, like, play with that pretty well, where, like, you know, if Joker, like, actually got into a fight with Batman, like, yeah, he's, like, screwed. Like, you know, he's just, there's nothing he can do, right? But at the same
Yeah.
time, with this movie, they actually do that, but the Joker does it not because he thinks he's gonna win, but because he literally, like, doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting, because, again, like, the police are always, like, you know, and actually, Batman, like, says this earlier on to Alfred, that, like, you know, oh, criminals, you know, you just need to find out what they want, right? And so they're always trying to be like, how do we, you know, figure out what this guy wants, and how do we stop him? And it's like, you can't, because there isn't anything.
Right.
You know? So, I don't know, I just think that dynamic and how the other characters really don't know what to do about it, like, makes it particularly interesting. It's an angle that, again, like, I don't quite think is done exactly in that manner.
Mhm.
So, I don't know, that's kind of the last thing I wanted to mention about it, but anyway.
I guess I was gonna say, when you brought up the boat, I found it interesting how it wasn't actually like any of the heroes that saved the people on the boat and everything.
Oh yeah, they kind of saved themselves.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah.
saved themselves.
Oh yeah, like,
And-
especially like with the prisoner who just, like, he convinced the guy to give it to him and then threw it out the
And then
window.
he threw it away.
Yeah, so that was, I like that a lot, because I totally forgot that. I didn't know what was gonna happen, and then I was like, ooh, okay, I like that a lot. Actually, just in general, this is a really good movie in terms of, like, you really don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So that's something that's nice about it as well. Tara, do you have more to say about that, or? I don't know.
No, that
Okay.
was, yeah.
Mai, do you have any last thoughts?
Last thoughts? I guess just like when the boat was brought up with like the like prisoners and then the civilians, like the civilians, the guy who was gonna like theoretically pull the trigger, he hesitated, and then he was the second one to put it away because the prisoner, he didn't hesitate, he threw it out the window,
Yeah.
and that was that. But I remember the guy on the boat, like the civilian, he was like, they're all like murderers and thieves and stuff, so why not? It's not like a terrible thing to do. And I guess maybe one of the overall themes of this movie is like what exactly is the line between good and bad?
Uh-huh.
Since like Harvey's whole thing is that he's split in two, and he was like the White Knight, and then he fell. So that's like crossing the line between good and bad to some extent. And then like with the civilians and the prisoners, you see each side do the thing that you think the opposite side will do.
Especially
Since- yeah.
also because, like, even though they both don't do it, the quote-unquote good guy, like, it takes a lot longer for him to, like, come to the conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it kind of plays with the idea of like the whole good and bad idea, and also I guess just how people perceive other people, since that line stuck out a lot to me with there's just like murderers and thieves and stuff, so why not kill them? And then I guess he might have thought about what he said, and then he was like, I sound like the monster here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I also like how, especially for neither of those characters, when they did, throw it away or put it back or whatever, they didn't say anything,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? So their actual exact reason, they don't tell you, and I like that as well.
Yeah.
And everyone else kind of just goes quiet and accepts, like, the thing from there.
Yeah.
So, like, we all like this movie.
Yeah. Good.
I am kind of curious to watch Dark Knight Rises again. At the same time, I remembered when I watched Dark Knight Rises, I definitely was kind of on the camp of it's decent, but not as good as this. But now, the more stuff that I know, and also I think from some other things, I think I might like it less. So I don't know. I'll see. Maybe I don't know. But next thing is actually something that I've heard of before and heard things about it, and that some people like it for what it is, but that others, I don't know what I'm gonna think about this. It might be something that I'm like, for what it is, fine, right? But it might be also be something that I'm like, this is just too stupid. So I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
On that note,
on that note, yeah.
bye.
Bye.
Bye.